Welcome to the Vintage Read Show and the Royal Quarter, royal news in 15 minutes or less. There's been quite a few interesting stories being bandied about over the last 24 hours, and I thought it would be really fun to discuss some of them with you. Please leave all your comments in the comments down below, and I get to see what you think about it all. Now, I'm going to kick off with this one, and I did feel sorry for King Charles III. He just can't take a trick at the moment. King Charles' free portrait snubbed on a spectacular scale as 46,000 institutions say no thanks. Now, they are, of course, talking about the portrait of the king post-coronation offered to community groups. Now, I think the next slide I pretty much just gave you the same information. Yes, revealed as expensive and unpopular. So a little addition to the information there. I do have some facts, though, about this. Around 20,000 or 31% of institutions offered the portraits of the king accepted. So that's quite significant, really. The scheme cost over £2.7 million, which is about 3.7 million in my sort of money. More than 46,000 eligible public institutions, though, rejected the offer, and that was actually a 69% miss rate. Now, the way the articles have been written, and it is just flying around all the outlets now, it's sort of the big story they're all hooking on to. They're implying that all these portraits were actually made, sent out, then rejected. So you've got this image of all these portraits of King Charles III sort of piling up in a local tip somewhere or in some sort of skip bin or something. But of course, that's not the case. Expressions of interest are, requested, that an order form basically is sent out, and then they fulfill the orders they get. So, it sounds very dramatic and everything. I must say, I'm not so sure that we can really blame this on King Charles III. I know he's getting a lot of negative press at the moment, and I know many are trying to couch this story as a way of saying that people are rejecting him. However, I think it's a sign of the times. I think it's very much a sign of the fact that a lot of these community halls pretty much closed up and died during COVID, and a lot of them haven't reopened again. And people got out of the habit of gathering together in these sorts of community halls and places, didn't they? I'm sure the traditional RSLs and things like that are still going to have a portrait of the king on the wall, just like they had a portrait of the queen on the wall. And no doubt they're part of the 31% that actually did accept it. What do you think about it? Do you think it's just a sign of the times, or do you think it actually is a form of rejection for the king himself? I don't buy into that. I think that's a bit of hyperbole and a bit of exaggeration. I think it very much is just a sign of the times. Now, this is a bit of a juicy story. It is the launch party for Andrew Loney's book entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York at the London Library in St James's Square. Half their luck. I would love to be there having a glass of bubbles to launch that book. Unfortunately, just too far away, aren't I? However, Lady Victoria Hervey isn't getting to attend either. Now, veteran public relations man Brian Basham is invited to the bash, get the pun, and he wanted to bring his friend Lady Victoria, 48. Why do they always put women's ages whenever they're reporting anything in the paper? And they never do it for guys, do they? I mean, they're not mentioning Brian Basham's age. Anyway, just something that I noticed briefly. But when he politely asked Loney if this would be acceptable, the author made it very clear, crystal clear, that she would be turned away at the door. Now, the library is the former haunt of Charles Dickens, Virginia Woolf, Charles Darwin, and Ian Fleming. So that's exciting. I'll have to go and check that out one day. Looking forward to seeing you, said Andrew Loney, but she's barred. It's understood that Andrew Loney took exception to the rather unflattering comments Lady Victoria Hervey made about his book on GB News. So, consequences, Victoria, consequences. I don't particularly like the woman, I have to admit. I feel like she has ice running through her veins. When she came out with that comment after Virginia Giuffre passed away, I just thought it was so inappropriate and so cruel. I mean, couldn't she have waited at least a week? And, you know, if you haven't got anything nice to say, well, just say nothing, particularly if someone has just died, and particularly under those sorts of circumstances. It's not the time to pile on. Now I've got some Aristo news, and it's related to Harriet Spurling and Prince Philip. It appears that Harriet Spurling has quite good connections going back in her family tree, and the Telegraph has reported on it. She's related through marriage to the Duke of Gloucester and also via Dorothy Courage, her paternal great-grandmother, who is from the Courage brewing dynasty. And her great-great-uncle owned Edgecott Manor. Have any of you been to Edgecott Manor? Perhaps most recognisable as Charles Bingley's Netherfield Park in the BBC's 1995 adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. So isn't that amazing? She's got all sorts of aristos in her background. Plus, we're already being besieged about the wedding, haven't we? Will Harry attend the wedding or won't he attend the wedding? Will Meghan attend the wedding or won't she attend the wedding? Also, there's this list of demands flying all around social media. I have no idea if any of that is true, but I really hope they're not going to attend the wedding, because I hope they didn't get an invitation. Next, a story about the Duke of York. Now, I have been trying to avoid this, to be honest with you, but this is quite interesting, related to what we've learned in Andrew Loney's book. Now, what we learned was Prince Andrew actually loves speeding, and he speeds in and out of the gates of Windsor, and he tends to knock over a policeman or two while he's at it. Well, apparently somebody's had enough, because speed bumps have actually been installed. It was reported like this. Prince Andrew throws 4-letter fit at workers installing speed bump outside his home. Evidently, he came trotting up on his horse and dropped a few F-bombs at the workers that were installing the speed bump just outside the gates of Windsor. So, yes, poor Andrew, he's not a happy penguin. I think when he sped, it sort of helped him relieve his tension, maybe. I don't know. But he feels under siege at the moment, and who can blame the guy? Mind you, actions have consequences, and I remind myself of that every time I feel sort of overtly sorry for the man. I remind myself just exactly how he has conducted himself, and then I remind myself not to feel sorry at all. Now, I'm just going to finish off with this very cheeky little bit. I hope you will forgive me. You'll understand why in a sec, and it's very, very funny. Meghan Markle said for magical family reunion this Christmas. That's funny in itself, but that's not the punchline. Get this. The holiday celebration set to hit screens in December. Now, we all know, get your bingo cards out. She's going to launch it at exactly the same time as the Princess of Wales Christmas Carol service, isn't she? Isn't she? We all know she is. And who's going to watch it? Nobody. Anyway, you can try, Megsy, you can try. But probably one of her car park walks would get more views. But that's not the funny bit. This is the funny bit. It promises a unique and intimate look into the Duchess's world as she decks the halls of her beautiful Maladramacito mansion. Well, of course, it's going to be the rental, isn't it? It's going to be the same rental that she had in the whole 2 seasons of the series. But again, not the punchline. This is the punchline. With friends, okay, and family. What family? She hasn't got any family. All she's got is Harry and Doria, which we've seen for the last, 5 or 6 years. Harry and Doria. Doria must be so embarrassed. I mean, look at her at the wedding. She was sitting all alone in a pew, and now she's going to be sitting all alone during the Christmas special. I mean, is she going to have a reconciliation with her father? Doubt it. Is she going to have a reconciliation with her brother, Thomas Markle Jr.? Double doubt it, and certainly not Samantha. So who is it? Who's the family? Is it going to be Eugenie and Jack? Or is it going to be Sarah Ferguson and Prince Andrew, but it's not going to be anyone else in the royal family. So I was gobsmacked. I have no idea how we are going to have a lovely Christmas special brimming with friends and family. I think that's a little bit of exaggeration. So I think they're going to have to tweak the pre-publicity for the Christmas special because that just doesn't fly, does it? Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you again very soon. Make sure you leave your comments because I will feature them in a future video, and I'll see you next week. Bye.